Fields of study and branches of biology. Biology field of study. Biology studies life from different standpoints, from the structure of atoms and molecules to the biology of the voluntary development of population. Branches of biology. The branches derived from biology are varied, such as anatomy, anthropology, botany, embryology, biomedicine, biochemistry, cytology, genetics, histology, immunology, virology, and zoology. How life started on the planet. There are many explanations for the origin of life. Some consider that electrical activity in the atmosphere originated life. Others suggest that the creation of life occurred in volcanoes. Others say that the origin of life is at the bottom of the oceans, and others that living beings arrived transported by meteorites or comets. Certain information about the beginning of life on Earth. The truth, until now, is that everything that has previously happened gave rise to a system based on the deoxyribonucleic acid (DNA) and ribonucleic acid (RNA), capable of storing information to create various molecules and edit their modification.
Characteristics of online titans. One, organization that is or is created to be organized and exercise in levels and not the capacity of function with this organization. Two, genetical analysis a genetical is which is consist on nitrogen base, the community to produce words in the languages and all the stars to the alive beings. Three, respond to serious stimuli. Analytic time can respond to different stimuli to analyze sound, temperature, chemical substance, among others. Immediately is referring to the set of the self-regulation phenomena that lead to the conservation of status in the incubation and perpetuates. But fine, stimulants use any year to mighty omega they means they must take a component from the external hemoglobin and use it there for their benefit. This growth implicates the incorporation of new mechanisms into the evaluation which is necessary for their purposes. 7. Reproduction to perpetuate their species even to produce themselves. 8. Adaptation, ability, and evolution. Their world starts in the chances in the with chance. Every one of the species is forced to adapt and evolve all of the survivor. Difference between interpeculiarity and qualities. Sense. Difference. The peculiarity is at the age is 3,100 million years. Has capacity it does not have a metabolic organization and has a conversion sum and meter between 1 and 10 micros, remains also mass and previously assessed. The quality as in the Earth is 1,005 million years. Remain organizations, nucleus, nuclear pneumatic and nucleus, mitochondria, emerged between 10 and 1,100 micros. Ribosome are large and previously associated and innocent.
Hello, my name is Claudia Loredo Molina from the team number 2, and I will present the next topics. Topic number 1, story of the microscope. The observation of the world of tiny things begin with the invention of the magnifying lenses, which are a very rudimentary version of the microscope. New, new now has the compound microscope, and these are some characters that influence this device. Modern microscope. In the Okay, so modern microscope in the 19th century it was possible to perfect a microscope. It became a handy tool, especially in the medical field, since the many innovations have allowed microscopes to evolve to the modern instruments to which we now have access. And examples of microscopes, sorry, and parts. Okay, then the second topic, the cell in cell theory. Cells are complex, thermodynamic structure that use energy to maintain the conditions that make possible their existence. Exist plant cell, animal cell, prokaryotic cell, and eukaryotic cell. And there are different types of cells, and each type has its own particularities. They share the following three characteristics: number one, cell membrane; number two, cytoplasm; and number three, genetic material. And examples. And finally, cell theory. All organisms are composed of cells, one or more, and byproducts those cells generate. If there were no cells that fulfill their functions, there was no life. Exist four postulates for number one, cell unit of life. Number two, every cell comes from a proximate cell. Number three, cell is a physiological unit of life. And number four, the cells contain hereditary informations, and they recognize authors of postulates the cell theory, samples, and more examples of the cell theory. And that's all from my side. Let's continue with other topics.
Cellular transport and levels of organization. Cellular transport is the exchange of substance between the cell interior and the exterior through the cytoplasmic membrane or the movement of the molecule within the cell. There are two ways to divide the transport of cells are as follows: each transport one by one is classified into active and passive. It is massive endocytosis and exocytosis. Active and passive. Active: this transport spends energy and goes against gradient of contradiction. Passive: this transport does not waste energy and goes in favor of concentration gradient. It can be simple diffusion, facilitated diffusion, and ultrafiltration or dialysis. Simple diffusion: the molecules cross the lipid bilayer. Facilitated diffusion: the passage of molecules depends on the presence of the integral membrane proteins that allow this passage. These proteins come from channels complex transport. Ultrafiltration or dialysis diffusion: water and some solutes pass through a membrane as a result of hydrostatic pressure. This is an example. Endocytosis and exocytosis. Endocytosis: incorporation of material into the cell. Pinocytosis is comparable with the drinking of the cell since the cell incorporates molecules in suspension. Phagocytosis is comparable with the eating of the cell because draw in the cell incorporates large quantities of materials. Receptor-mediated endocytosis: in the cell membrane there are receptors to which specific molecules bind, which are then incorporated in the cytoplasm. In exocytosis: secretion of the material produced by cells. Regulator: the cell responds to a signal to release its products. Constitutive: the secretion is constant. This is examples. Levels of organization: they are the degrees of complexity of hierarchy that can be found in the universe. The first level is the atom. The atom forms molecules and the biomolecules. The biomolecules constitute the organelles and structures. The set of organelles from the cell. A set of cells form a tissues. The tissues form organs. The organs are grouped in the systems. And in the molecular organisms, the system constitutes the individual. Now let's see levels that go beyond a single individual. A population is made up of individuals of the same species. The community, the grouping of population, together with the abiotic factor physical environment, constitute the ecosystem. Finally, the biosphere is the total set of ecosystems present on Earth. This is a image.
Homeostasis. It refers to the quality of organisms to preserve their internal conditions despite the changing conditions in the exterior or interior. Uses two feedback loops. Positive. It is the product of a reaction that leads to an increase in that reaction, amplifies effects on the system farther from the equilibrium goal. Example, blood coagulation or childbirth. Negative feedback. The product of a reaction leads to a decrease in that reaction. The responsive for the stabilization of a system. Example, regulation of temperature. Organ systems are groups of organs that work for the correct functioning of the body. Circulatory systems transport oxygen, nutrients, and other substances to the cells, helps to stabilize body temperature. Lymphatic system defends the body against infection and disease. It transfers lymph between the tissues. Digestive system processes food and absorbs nutrients, minerals, vitamins, and water. Endocrine system provides communication within of the body through hormones. Integumentary system provides protection against injuries and loss of fluids, as well as physical defenses against infections from microorganisms. Muscular system provides movement support and head protection. Nervous system collects, transfers, and processes information. Reproductive systems produces gametes and sexual hormones. Respiratory systems exchange oxygen and carbon dioxide between blood, air, and body tissues. Skeletal system protects the soft tissues of the body, provides movement in joints, produces blood cells, and stores minerals. Urinary system eliminates excess water, salts, and waste products of blood and body. Immune system defense against microbiological pathogens like viruses and bacteria.
Health and disease. According to the Dictionary of the Royal Spanish Academy, health is a state in which the organic being normally exercises all its functions. The disease is related to disordered lifestyles. This disrupts the dynamic balance of the physical body. It is also understood as a disease when the existence of symptoms of a process that breaks the balance of the organism is appreciated. What things have affected health? By industrialization, automatization, and acceleration of the pace of life. What are the factors that influence the maintenance of health? Public health 10%, environment 20%, genetics 20%, and lifestyle 50%. Health in adolescence. To start with this topic, it is necessary to know what adolescence is. It's a stage known from the transition of development between childhood and adulthood. This implies physical, cognitive, and social changes. This occurs between the age of 11 and 19 years. Adolescents are considered healthy people of general terms because physically their body has the strength to resist disease. An aspect that must be taken into account is mental health. The brain is the chief of carrying out basic processes such as emotion, judgments, behavioral, and emotional self-control. Amygdala. These tend to be used by adolescents as it relates to emotional and instinctive reaction. Health lifestyle is the factor that greatest will in the determination or in the disease. The way in which the person lives her life will depend of whether she is healthy or falls into some stray illness. It promotes habits that favor all these areas. Health lifestyle helps to cope with training situations, to avoid physical illness, or to better resist physical or emotional ailments. There are some things that can help you have healthy lifestyles. Sleep between 7 and 9 hours a day. Have breakfast every day. Perform 3 meals a day. Maintain body weight within acceptable limits. Practice a physical activity regularly. Do not consume a moderate consumption of alcohol. No smoking.